If you haven't yet, I want you to go to jobethevans.com and take the college readiness quiz. There's a quiz there for parents and a quiz there for students. When you take that quiz, you get a detailed explanation of where you're at and actionable steps for you to take to move you beyond where you're at right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon. Hello, Elevators. Today I am here with Claudia Taboada, and she is here to inspire, to tell her story, to not only to inspire parents, but to inspire young women who are maybe thinking about some dreams that they have and maybe just don't have it in them to just go forward. Maybe you're thinking about going to college, but you don't know if you can do it. She's going to motivate us and tell us her story and just inspire us in general. But Claudia is a former attorney who ended up leaving her job to be at home with her son who has autism. She is a marathon runner who has ran 23 races. She's a writer, speaker, teacher, coach, and she empowers and equips women across the world because she speaks 3 languages, so she can do that. So Claudia, I just want you to welcome you, and then I want you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more about you and tell us your inspiring story.
Sure. So Claudia Taboada, I'm in Montreal. I'm mom to 2 boys, a 16-year-old and 18-year-old. It's my 18-year-old Nicholas, who is autistic. And basically, I can start with my story. 17 years ago, I decided to leave my career as a labor and employment attorney to care for my son, who had been recently diagnosed with autism. And I became his full-time caregiver for about, I would say, maybe 10 years. And in that role, I was his teacher, I was his therapist, his speech pathologist, his OT, occupational therapist. I was the manager of his early intervention program. I was a superwoman, super autism mom, but I lost myself. I lost my identity. I didn't know who I was anymore. My identity was related to being my son's caregiver. That's who I was, and I was burnt out. I was overwhelmed. I was close to a mental breakdown a few times. And it just so happened that when my son was about 9, I believe, we were gifted a guide dog from an association that's called the Mira Foundation. They give guide dogs to people who are blind, but they had this little program going for children with autism. So we applied, and then we got in, and we got a guide dog. We were gifted a guide dog. And then my husband has always traveled a lot. So, that was another, more tasks to do at home. And when we got the dog, we said, oh my God, how am I going to take care of this dog with all the stuff I already have? I have my son, I had my other son who was about 5 years old, my husband traveling, me being the homeschooler, and I, being a homeschooling mom, and how am I going to take care of this dog? So anyway, I had no choice. So I started taking the dog out, and I said, oh my God, another task. First I would just go 2 minutes in front of the house, and that's it. But then slowly but surely, I started, taking the dog out for walks longer and longer. And I began to fall in love with just, going outside with the dog. And I for the first time in several years, I realized, oh my God, this is the first time that I take time for me, just going outside with the dog. And, I started taking the dog out. And then eventually, I started seeing all these people running and jogging. I said, oh, well, maybe I should start, doing some fast walking and running or jogging. So I started jogging in front of my house, 2 minutes. I was, at the time, I was not able to run more than 2 minutes without calling 911. I would have a heart attack. I would go up and down the street. Then I would go around the block. And then, then I started just, started jogging. I said, oh, well, I'm going to start doing it every day, with a dog. And then I think it was four months after I started jogging that I went to this running store, and I saw this a couple of ladies who were advertising a race for, it's called the race CIBC Run for the Cure. It's for breast cancer, and that race was on my birthday. And I said to myself, at first I was just, I was going to donate, but then something happened, and I realized, you know what, I'm going to apply for this race, and I'm going to go for it. Something from above told me that I needed to race this race. So anyways, I raced, it was a 5K. And at the time, I had not run more than 3K. So anyways, I ran 5K. I actually crossed the finish line, and I was not the last one, because that was my fear, to be the last one. Anyways, I crossed that finish line. And when I crossed that finish line, that was it. It was an epiphany for me. I realized that my life would not be the same anymore. I decided that from then on, I would take care of my health, my physical health, my mental health, and my emotional health. It was a turning point for me. And from then on, I realized that I had been neglecting myself. And first, I started with taking care of my physical health.
Yes.
And that meant that I had to prevent, illness prevention was number one, because I had been taking my son to all these appointments, and I thought they were for me, but I had not been to the doctor, for my checkups, or for breast exams, or PEP tests, or whatever. I had not been to my exams for 10 years. So I said, my God, what is this? So I started with the illness prevention. Then it was off to nutrition. I was not eating well. I was eating the same thing, or just I had no time to eat, so I would have like whatever junk I could find in the fridge. And so I went from so it was nutrition, then hydration. Sometimes I would just have a coffee and that's it. So I started to, making sure that I was drinking regularly, I was drinking water regularly, that I was eating, I was having, 3 meals a day with snacks, that I was meal prepping on the weekend so that I could have healthy food on hand. Then it was up to sleep. I was taking, kids on the autism spectrum have a very hard time with sleep. They have sleep problems. So I would, sometimes, my son will wake up. But the problem I had is that I was, constantly looking for information on autism on the web. So I would go to bed really late. And I said, no, at least if I go to bed with my son, then if he wakes up, then, at least I have some good sleep. So anyway, so sleep was another, cornerstone that I had to look at. So it was sleep, eating well, just, illness prevention, for health. And then after that, it was all once I realized that that was the foundation, that to have a healthy body, and of course exercise, was, it was at the time I incorporated exercise almost every day. So at
Yeah.
the time I didn't have much time. So I would just go, for a walk or for a run. And then I had like tapes, Pilates tapes, 10 minutes tapes, 10-minute solution. That was called my Pilates tapes. And I still have them. And, but I forced myself to work out at least 30 minutes to 45 minutes every day. And
Yeah.
that was, for me, that was key, because it was, as we were talking before, it was for mindset. For me, exercise is as good for the health aspect than for the mindset.
Yeah.
For me, the exercise has been a game changer, because it helps me not only, to push my limits, but also, for running, for example, like, racing for me, it gives me things to look forward to. And I put, to have goals that I say, well, like I always go for goals that I think that I cannot do at the time, so that I always push forward, always pushing forward, to push my limits. And that has been key for me.
Yeah.
Exercising has been key. And so that's how that was my turning point. And from that experience, I can say that, like from then on, I decided to focus on finding the best tools, the best strategies to, parent my son with grace, and to um, find the self-care and stress management tools that would enable me to have the vitality and the mental strength to parent my son for the long haul. Because
Right.
it is not a sprint. It is a marathon. When you have a special needs child, it is a marathon, because, if they're autistic now, they will be autistic. There will be autistic adults. And the problem is that we don't have a lot of services, in the world. Like, I mean, in Montreal, we don't have a lot of services for autistic adults. And it's the same thing in the US as well. So we really have to be careful. We really have to take care of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and right from the outset, because it is a long-term contract.
Yeah.
So that is, one of my takeaways from all this, experience, is that we really need to take care of ourselves from the start,
Yeah.
because otherwise, we burn out.
Right. And I think that's so important for everybody to hear, whether you are a parent, or you're a young woman going to college, or still in high school, wherever you're at, is that you have to take care of yourself. And a lot of times when people talk about self-care, they're talking about hair and nails and, getting eyelashes filled and tanning, which, oh my gosh, don't get me started on tanning. But anyways, all these things. And it's like, that's not really okay. Maybe that's pampering yourself and it feels good. Yes.
That's
But
it.
that's not self-care. And that's what got me into so much trouble in college, is that my first 2 years of college, I played basketball, and which meant that I was working out 2 to 3 hours, 5 days a week. And a lot of times games on Saturday. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was a hardcore athlete, like pushing my body
Mm-hmm.
physically almost every day. And so I went from there. And in my second 2 years of college, I did not play sports. So
Mm-hmm.
I went from being a hardcore athlete to doing absolutely nothing other than walking to my classes at
Mm-hmm.
college.
Yeah.
So that was not good. And not only
No.
did my body change, so my fat or my muscle turned into fat. So I wasn't looking as good, which meant that didn't have the confidence in myself that I used to have, because I didn't like
Yeah.
the changes that I was seeing in my body. So that was one side of it. The other side was that I started experiencing stress and anxiety for the first time in my life in
Mm-hmm.
my junior and senior year. And it resulted in me having a full on anxiety attack at college. And
Mm-hmm.
I went to a doctor because I was like, fairly certain I had a heart attack. And
Wow.
like, I told him, he was an old man, he was like 70. And I was like,
Mhm.
I think I had a heart attack. So I'm sitting in here at
Oh
20
my God.
telling this doctor, like, I think I had a heart attack like
Mhm.
yesterday.
Mhm.
And he was like, sweet old man. He was like, you did not have a heart attack. Like, you're 21, you're healthy. Like, you look good. Like, you didn't have a heart attack. And I was like, I think I had a heart attack. And so, anyways, he did an EKG on my heart just to show me, because he was like, I don't want to like tell you what you didn't. Let's actually really show you that you didn't. So he ran an EKG. I did not have a heart attack.
Mhm.
But what I did have was an anxiety attack.
Anxiety.
And
Yeah.
it felt like everything that I had ever read about heart attacks. It was hurting my chest, down my arm. I couldn't see real well. It was really, really awful.
Mhm.
And so he told me, he said, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And I'm like,
Yes.
nothing. I'm going to school, I'm driving to school, I'm studying, and I'm working. That's what I'm doing. And he was like, he said, I could put you on medication. So that was an option, to put me on, an anxiety medicine, antidepressant,
Yes.
something that would have probably
Yeah.
solved my problem.
Yeah.
He said, I can do that. He said, or you can start taking care of yourself. And he said,
Really.
there's a better
Mhm.
option here than medication.
Yes.
At this point, some people need medication. I wasn't to that point. Um,
Mhm.
so I started getting massages. So
Mhm.
that was a
Yeah.
really big thing for me. I would go like maybe every 3 months, because I was in college. I didn't have an abundance of money.
Yeah.
I'd go every like 3 months to get a massage. And I started working out at least
Mhm.
3-4 days a week. I would do
Mhm.
something. And then I got a dog. I got a dog because I was like, if I get this dog, then that means I'm going to have to, kind of like the same situation you were in, like I have to take her outside to get exercise. And so I would start
That's
taking
it.
her for walks and stuff. But
Yeah.
the working out, and you and I were talking about this before we started recording, is that like working out is something you can control. So
Mhm.
setting time aside to work out and get your body moving, get your heart rate up, that is a choice, and everybody has time for it. If you, as a homeschooling mom of an autistic son with another son and a husband that works all the time or travels all the time, like if you can find time to work
Yeah.
out, like
Yeah.
the rest of us can too. It's just,
This true.
do you want to watch Netflix for an hour, or do you want to work out
I
for
agree.
30 minutes? Or do you want to spend a long time cooking this lavish dinner, or do you want to chop up a salad and
I
buy some
agree.
leftover chicken and
Yeah.
then work out? It's priorities.
That's
and
it.
and you
Mhm.
have to find time for it. And for some people, like you and I, it's like we were talking, it's not really an option. It's not something
Mhm.
that it's like, I don't care if I get, I don't care if I get fat, or I
No,
don't care if I get this. No, it's like, I don't want to have an anxiety attack, and like, or
that's
I
the
don't want to
thing.
like completely fall apart as a person.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do this workout. I'm going to go run.
No,
I'm
no,
going
I agree.
to do my workout.
I agree. No, I agree. I mean, having been there where I was, in burnout mode and, not knowing who I was anymore, I know for a fact that for me, it's, exercising, it's key. And it's a priority. It's a priority. And as you say, you have to prioritize. And I said, like, my house sometimes it can be a mess, but I rather have my work get in, because I know that for my mindset
Right.
it's key. So I prioritize. I have no choice. And every day, and even now, well, now I'm divorced. So my ex-husband lives in Denmark. So he's also in lockdown. So I'm all by myself with the kids since the beginning of lockdown. So I have 2 kids, including one severely autistic, who I have to homeschool. But, and well, and other projects going around. But my workout, I get it every day. Like every day I make, even if it's not in the morning, I work, I put in my clothes. And I say, if I see a window of opportunity, I'm out and I go for my run. But it's always there. I make sure that I at least a half an hour of
Mm-hmm.
something physical that gets me moving, gives me the endorphins. And it's key for me. It's one of the things that I cannot let go. And I mean, there's other things. I mean, the other, there's other options as well. But I think for me, I find that exercise is an all-encompassing self-care tool, because it's not only for the physical aspect, but it's also the mental aspect. So that's one of the things that for me, it's key.
Yeah. So what would you say to girls who are, aside from working out, because I know that like we know that's essential. We know that it's something that we all should be doing. But when it comes to like following your dreams and doing stuff for yourself, what would you have to say to, let's say, a high school girl who, you know, wants to go to college, wants to make something of herself, but has a lot of self-doubt and is just like, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I belong there. Maybe she's the first one in her family to go to college. Like, what would you say to somebody in that situation?
Well, I would say that visualize yourself where you want to be. Visualize, like it's I use a lot of visualization. And where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years and 15 years? And make a list of what you need to do for that. Like, I mean, it's if you want to see yourself, like as a career woman, what do you need to do? I mean, I have it is very, very hard for someone. I can tell myself, like with my experience, it was very hard for me when I was in my burnout mode to even visualize, because I was, I wasn't even taking care of myself. So one of the things that is important, take care of yourself, your physical health. And then once that is there, the foundation is there, then you can start working on your mindset. But with regards to the mindset, is really visualize what you want to be, what you want to do, and try to be resourceful in the sense that if you're the first one who's gone to college, what try to get a mentor, try to get someone who can lead you in the way that you want to go. I don't know, it's really be very try to stay resilient and try to go after your dreams. I don't know what else I can really have goals, really have short-term and long-term goals. And the short-term goals, you have to anchor them with small activities that can get you to the bigger goal.
Right.
So that you can you don't have to see the whole, that don't feel stressed out because you see the whole the so much to do. And anchor your goals, have little activities that you can do to bring it out, to bring to the next level, to bring it to the next level.
Right. I think visualization is really important, and we haven't talked about that much on here, but and that's something that if you are having a lot of self-doubt might be hard to do, but to visualize, like you were saying, visualizing your future self, that college graduate or the person who's finished that marathon, watching, like visualizing yourself crossing that finish line, getting that diploma in your hand. Like, what do you, an activity that I've done is drew a picture of the future me and had all the little things that that JoBeth 5 years down the road has accomplished, and the way she feels about those accomplishments. Man, it felt so good. Like if you're in high school, man, it felt so good to walk across stage and get my high school diploma or my college diploma. Or it was really exciting walking in for that interview with that law firm. Like it felt so good when they called me and said that I had got the job, that I was the the best candidate or whatever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and really getting the emotions involved in that too, and how good that's going to feel. um I can't remember where I read this, but it was talking about how, like, when you need to visualize your future that you're wanting like it has already happened, and to like live in the joy of knowing that, like, in the future this has already happened,
Yeah,
which is kind of
yeah,
a
yeah,
weird way to think about something, but like, you just being like, oh my gosh, it feels so good to know that.
yeah. You have to get the emotions going. Yeah, you have to get the emotions going. Like I recently wrote a book, and I'm visualizing myself with Oprah, sitting in interviews with Helen or something. It's like, but you have to get that emotion going, and visualize it, and say, okay, this is what I want to do in 5 years.
Yeah.
What is it? What are the steps that I'm going to take in order for this to happen?
Hmm.
And get to work on those different steps that you need to. And what do I need? Do I need to find myself a mentor? Do I need to register for something? Do I need, but really, like, as a marathon runner, I can say, like, that has helped me, because I know it's like it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you really have to have a program going, like, where you have, okay, you have different different steps, where you do the first 4 weeks of training for this, then after that you go for, so you really have to have kind of like like a program for your success. But you have to see it first. You have to visualize yourself and get those emotions going, and say, okay, well, this is what I want to do, and
Hmm.
and let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So something I like to do, um, is when I lay down at night after I say my prayers, is visualize until I fall asleep. So
Mm-hmm.
instead of watching
Mm-hmm.
Netflix or something, a lot of times I just lay there
Mm-hmm.
and visualize my future. And I
Mm-hmm.
think something that's really important is to enjoy and love the life that you have right now while
Yes.
working towards your future,
Mm-hmm.
because you
That's
can't
it.
be hanging out waiting thinking that, that degree or that job or that crossing the finish line is going to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
You have to find your happiness where you're at, which is a whole nother episode. But like, you have to be happy where you're at, but also find so much joy in where you're headed. So I think
Yeah.
that is so good.
Yeah, I agree with that, what you're saying with regards to gratitude. You have to be grateful for what you have, and say, and that, and living in the present as well, in the sense that, for me, for a long time, I was always living in the past or in the future, but like the bleak future of my son, because he's autistic, so I mean, he's not going to have any services. So I was always thinking back, oh my god, what I do right with his teachings. I wasn't. And then in the future, oh my god, he's not going to have anything, any services, and when I die, what's going to happen? But you still have to live in the present,
Hmm.
but visualize positive things.
Right.
Visualize what you want to, what you want to achieve, what success you want to have. But don't start thinking about anxiety thing, anxious,
Hmm.
things that make you anxious, because that's not going to happen.
Right.
That's going to help you. That's not going to help you. You're not going to say, oh my god, like, oh, if I want to become a doctor, all this studying that I have to do, no, focus on positive things
Yeah.
in the future,
Exactly. Hmm.
and be grateful for what you have in the
Yeah.
present.
Yeah.
That's key, I think.
Absolutely. Well, I think you're proof that if if there's something that we want to achieve, whether it be physical fitness or getting a degree or, um, being able to make your child a priority, to take care of their needs, whatever it is, that it is possible, and that it just depends on how much grit you have and determination, and what on whether or not you're going to actually achieve that. Was there anything
Mhm.
else that you wanted to say today?
Yeah, well, with regards to, if we would just follow on that, what you just said, um, for example, if last year it was one of the toughest years of my life because of I was divorcing, and then my son, he's older, so he has more anxiety problems. He has some behavior problems, but I had in my mind that I wanted to write a book. I
Mhm.
had in my mind, I'm writing a book. Last year I said to myself, next January I'm going to publish my book. And
Mm.
it was the toughest. I would say that last year was the toughest year of my life, but I had that goal, of
Yeah.
writing my book. And no matter what happened, no matter what stress I was under, no matter what anxiety I was under, that was my goal. And I made sure that, like every day I wrote at least an hour on my book. And I had, no matter what stress I had this calm determination
Hmm.
for my goal. And at the end of the year, I finished my book and I published in January. So it is possible, if you have a goal, it's you have to focus on that goal, and be determined.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where can people find you and find your book?
Yes, they can find me claudiataboada.com. I can send you the links. I'm also on Instagram. It's my fitness account, so if you want to follow me on Instagram, and my handle is Badass Autism Mama. So I'll send that link as well. I'm on Facebook as well, so that they can follow me. And one of the things that I wanted to offer you too, I have self-care workbook that I can
Okay.
give for free to your audience. So, and that's for any age. So I have checklists, and I have different worksheets there that they can use, so that they can have their self-care goals. They
Mhm.
can anchor their self-care goals. So I
Yes, I
can
love
give you
that.
that as well. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
that's awesome.
those links. Yeah.
Okay, well, I appreciate you being on here today. It was so good, very inspiring, and we will be seeing you on social media.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, JoBeth here. I hope you enjoyed this interview, and no matter where you're at in your journey, I hope that you found the tips and tricks and information to be super helpful. If you haven't yet, I want you to go to jobethevans.com and take the college readiness quiz. There's a quiz there for parents and a quiz there for students. When you take that quiz, you get a detailed explanation of where you're at and actionable steps for you to take to move you beyond where you're at right now. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you soon.